Ruff Ryders Volume 1 dropped in 1999 and set the streets on fire. But does it still hold up today? Is this a timeless classic or just a moment in hip-hop history? Let's get into it. What's going on, y'all? My name is Lighthouse, and you're now tuned into Everything for Everybody. And, every now and then, or every week rather, from now on, we did it last week with Khalees. I like to talk about an album that is a part of my sonic DNA, the music that has shaped me up until this point. And I want to talk about the Ruff Ryders Volume 1 compilation. Now, during this time, a bunch of labels was doing compilations. I think the Ruff Ryders series was the one that I actually gravitated towards. And we'll get into the history of how my affinity for the Ruff Ryders came to be. Okay, so Ruff Ryders Volume 1 was released on April 27, 1999, during my sophomore year at John Dewey High School, somewhere in Coney Island, right? I'm about 16 years old. I was deeply immersed in the Ruff Ryders movement, and that's me. Yep, young Lighthouse. I was about 16, no facial hair, the whole world was right in front of me. I just was so happy to be young and, write rhymes and all of that. But we about to get into all of that right now, right? So my mother was friends with D, one of the CEOs of Ruff Ryders, the General. And we would often spend time in Harlem, where I would see the Ruff Ryders pull up to Mart 125. Naturally, this personal connection fostered my strong allegiance to their music. The collective was at its peak. DMX, Eve, the Locks, who were dominating, particularly in the wake of the Free the Locks, We Are the Streets campaign. I would see them. I never really got to see Chic Luch, but I would always see Jadakiss and Styles P, and they just would be rolling dolo. There was a shop called Black Men's Jewelers in Mart 125, and that's where everyone would come to get their jewelry and all that. So I met Mace there, seen Dr. Khalid Muhammad, God rest his soul, a bunch of people. But D and the Ruff Ryders used to be out there, and people used to meet up and battle and do all kinds of shit in the Mart. The Mart was like a flea market or like a swap meet, if you will. We don't call them swap meets in New York, but it was like a place where they had a barber shop in there. One dude sold fur coats. Black Star Video was there. Who else was there? They had photography in there. But the building was kind of run down. It didn't get any city funding really. The city kind of turned its back on Mart 125. It was just like a beacon or a place for black people to come through. It was very Afrocentric. There was Africans doing business there. Everyone had a place in Mart 125. It was very black oriented, and it was across the street from the Apollo. But enough about that, right? Everyone used to come to Mart 125. Now, New York City in the late 90s was turbulent. During this time, gang culture was rising with the Bloods and Crips, and they were gaining traction. And my generation had to figure out ways to kind of navigate that iteration of youthful angst, if you will, right? We wasn't into that. We ain't want to be gangbangers. We ain't want to be turned into missiles and be on dummy missions going around cutting people and doing all kinds of shit. It seemed like it was very disorganized when the gang stuff started when I was a youngster. It was like if you was wearing blue, they would just slice you just because they thought you was Crip or whatever, So I didn't want to be a part of that, So me and my homies, we just rolled together and we just moved in a certain way where nobody would infiltrate our, unit and violate us, and we held each other down, And we was able to get through it, and we had alliances and different, social connections with people that allowed us to move without getting into too much trouble, getting into trouble and shit. We knew people that lived out there and they fucked with us, so we didn't have no issues because they could just call people from their projects, and whoever was trying to beef with us would be outnumbered, you know what I'm saying? Because we was cool with niggas from Coney Island, you know what I mean? So anyway, so during this time, right, Swizz Beatz was my favorite producer. Hearing All for the Love on the Money, Power, Respect album ignited my passion to want to pursue production. However, I had no technical knowledge of beat making. Terms like MPC and SP1200 was foreign to me, but I was determined to learn. My initial plan was to start rapping, secure a record deal, then gain studio access so I could learn the equipment. That's what I thought. I thought yo, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna you know, make me a little tape, a little album. And since my mother know D, I'ma just go to D and be like, yo, listen, this is what I do, you know what I mean? Let me get a deal. It did not pan out like that at all. So alongside my brothers, Reg Broadway, MG, and Carmelo, we used to write rhymes, and we used to make these tapes. With these tapes, we would just use like instrumental CDs. We would record that onto like another tape, and then record our vocals onto from that tape to another tape. So it sounded super muddy, low fidelity. I still have one of my tapes too over here somewhere. And I do have the Ruff Ryder tape as well, you know what I mean? Like, I literally bought this thing, you know what I mean? Like, I still have it. It's like kind of messed up at this point, but yep, I was there. I bought this. I still have my tape. Yeah, we would just make these little albums. We make our own mixes. We didn't call them mixes. We would call them albums. You know, it would just be a bunch of random beats that we liked and just our rhymes. Like, there was no structure. Sometimes we would have hooks and shit, but you know, we just was trying to do the best that we can with what we had. Eventually, I would acquire my own equipment and started making cassettes and albums, and that's what got me to the tape that I was able to give to D. After completing a tape, I took it uptown and persuaded my mother to ask D like to listen to it. So, you know, it was like we was there all day, and I was like, yo, just when you want to talk to him, like, I want him to hear my stuff, you know what I mean? This is my chance, you know, and I was hyped. I was like, all my fresh clothes, I was like, ready for him to hear my music. He listened to it, he took my headphones, he listened to it on my cassette player, and he was just like, you're not ready. Keep working, this ain't it. I was devastated, but in retrospect, he was absolutely right. The tape was ass, like it was garbage, muffled, it was terrible, you know what I mean? Even if the fidelity wasn't an issue, the bars was not there, you know what I mean? The bars wasn't there, I just didn't have the package. I just thought that, you know, I was nice enough because I did rhyme. I was able to put the shit together. I thought that would mean something. It meant nothing. Despite the history of that little setback, Ruff Ryders Volume 1 remains embedded within my sonic DNA, as I said before. The album was a combination of warrior anthems and cautionary tales that provided guidance, instilled a sense of vigilance, and heightened our awareness. Tracks like Dope Money by Jadakiss and Styles P fueled our confidence. That song alone could shift our energy, making us feel invincible in any situation. Like, I don't give a fuck what happened. When we listened to Dope Money, we was ready to go with whoever wanted to go, you know what I mean? This album was loaded with significant moments. Down Bottom, which kind of like further introduced Juvenile to everybody, because we heard him on Hot with Jay-Z, but like this was like, okay, we fuck with y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like this kind of like was the bridge between us and the South, I think, because people, you know, people wasn't really fucking with High like that. Like my crew, we fucked with it, you know, and there was people who liked it, but people was like, who's this down south? And it's vice versa. I heard the same thing, like down in New Orleans, they ain't fuck with Jay-Z on the remix to have, you know what I'm saying? But him on Down Bottom was a plus. Jigga My Nigga with Jay-Z was like, I told y'all, Swizz Beatz was like a god to me. So hearing this song was just like, this was our shit, man. Like the Ruff Ryders and Jay-Z like collaborations are like classic, you know what I mean? Ruff Ryders distributed a promo tape that had snippets, and like Jigga My Nigga was on there, but it was only like the first verse, and like I would go all over the place trying to find like the African bootleggers that had the mixtapes and shit, and just try to get the one that had Jay-Z's full verse on it, the full song. You know, I think like a week before the album dropped, they started like leaking it, and it was like you could get the full version, but I needed to have the actual album. I wanted to hear, because they had snippets of other songs, and those was dope too, but I needed to have the actual album, and I got it. You know, my mom's bought this for me, you know what I'm saying? Like, shit, I was like, Ma, I need that. Like, as soon as she got paid, I'm like, you know what we gotta do, right? We gotta go get that Ruff Ryders. And we could have just got them from them, but I wanted to support. I was like that type of person where I wanted to buy the album, you know, to show my support. And I still, to this day, like when I sell stuff, I want y'all to buy it so y'all could, you know, really support, you know what I mean? Listening back now, I appreciate this era of Swizz Beatz production. His work on this project was unpolished yet captivating. It was kind of like all over the place, but for some reason it worked. His drum arrangements, snare selections, and bass-heavy kicks were signature elements that resonated with me. The beats that I like the most on the album is Jigga My Nigga, Dope Money, which was produced by PK, Kiss of Death, and Pina Colada. PK and Dame Grease were integral to the Ruff Ryders sound, but I think they were kind of phased out because Swizz Beatz is the nephew of the CEOs, you know what I mean? Obviously, he's gonna get more looks than the rest of them, but I feel like he kind of leaned on their style in order to create his style, and now his style is completely his own at this point. Like, you can hear a Swizz Beatz beat and know it's a Swizz beat, you know what I mean? So, but shout out to PK and Dame Grease. Those are like forefathers in my production. Like, I definitely respect them. They put in a lot of pain, and they had a lot of joints with DMX. Like, they are a very integral part of, you know, this thing that we love. And back then, it's like, when I was buying mixtapes, if I seen anything that was produced by Swizz Beatz, I had to buy it. I had to have it, you know? So, shout out to Swizz Beatz, man. You know what I mean? I'm never gonna like not like Swizz Beatz and respect him, because if it wasn't for him and his drums, I would have never wanted to pursue rapping probably. I would have just, I don't know what I would have did, you know what I mean? Like, I think, yeah, I like music, but I wasn't writing rhymes. It was because, no, I can't even say that, because that's another story. We're gonna get into like how I started rhyming in another video, you know what I mean? But yeah, Swizz Beatz, shout out to Swizz Beatz. When it comes to these albums that, you know, I like to go back and discuss, when I try to do my Sonic DNA videos, I like to see what people think about these projects. And I was kind of shocked. There was like a lot of people saying like, this album is weak and stuff like that, and they ain't like it, and it's only because of, and it's like, there's certain people who you could just tell, they're not even trolls, they just are, I don't know, I don't think they're culturally mature or culturally aware, or their opinion just doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Not everyone's opinion matters, but let me say that differently. It ain't for them, you know what I mean? Which is the substance of our show. Everything ain't for everybody. So there's people who say like they don't like this album, and you know, that might be the case for them, you know what I mean? But for me, this album is fire, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you have a little bit of something for everybody. You got something for the ladies, you got skits, you got DMX on it, you got Early Drag On, you got the Locks, you got Beanie Siegel, you got Jay-Z. It's like so many things, but it's tough. And like, to be from this era, this is like one of the great albums from that era, you know? And I love this album, man, you know, and I can't stress it enough. It's one of my favorites. And yeah, man, let me know what y'all think about Ruff Ryders Volume 1, and like, what was your favorite compilation album from that era? You know, there was Jermaine Dupri had one, Violator had one, Murder Inc. had one. Like, compilation albums was a thing at the time. So let us know what your favorite compilation album was. Was it this one? Because I could also talk about Volume 2, Ruff Ryders Volume 2. I actually have that over here as well. Yeah, see, I got the tape for that too, you know what I mean? And let me let y'all see something too, you know, before we go. You know, I was really there, you know, DMX signed my first rhyme book. That's it right there, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's a little treat for y'all. But yo, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Everything for Everybody. Hopefully Ruff Ryders Volume 1 is for you. If you haven't heard it, check it out and leave a comment. Let me know what you think, you know? Or if you're from that era and you listen to it now, did the songs age well? What do you think about the production? Me, I think the shit's still fire, you know what I mean? I think it's still knock, you know what I mean? But, you know, I want to hear from y'all. But anyway, thanks for watching. We out of here.